Greetings, and this is Coach Charlene, and welcome to When the Moment Chooses You. I'm extremely excited to share this clip with you on Shola Richards. And this particular clip, he really pushes you to just do the work. There's nothing necessarily special with what he did and other luminaries in the world, like Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi and Mother Teresa. They did the work that spoke to their hearts. So you're going to enjoy this episode. So I'll see you in the episode. That's awesome. So when did you actually get your first big event or speaking engagement, like with an organization?
I would say I started writing my blog posts in 2013. Now that was 8 to 9 years after my suicide attempt. I started writing my blog, so it took me a long time. I think a lot of these stories sometimes are romanticized, and I love to keep it real. It wasn't oh man, I changed my mind. It took in, it could have been a lot faster if I didn't wrestle with self-doubt for practically a decade afterward. But someone said to me the other day, man, you're an overnight success. I'm dude, well, that was the longest night of my life then, because that was not, I don't know what you're talking about, overnight success. So in 2013, I started writing, and then 2 years after that, I was offered a book deal in 2015. I wrote my first book, Making Work Work, that was released in 2016. And shortly after my first book came out, people are like, hey, I really enjoy your book. Would you be interested in possibly speaking and sharing? I was like, okay, sure. And then the question, so what's your fee? What's my fee? People get paid for this? I have no idea. That sounds really strange. And I'll never forget, I threw out the largest number I could throw out because it took me off guard. I was like, yeah, I'll speak for $1,500. And there was this pause on the other end of the phone. I was like, oh my God, I screwed it up. Why did I do it? I should have said $200. I was like, and then she broke this awkward silence by saying something that really kind of changed my life. She's like, well, Shola, that's a very modest fee. I was like, it is? That's a lot of $1,500. A lot of money. I don't know what you're talking about, but I kept that thought to myself. It's well, what if you're really wanting to speak for a living, you have a book that's done very well. At minimum, you should be charging $5,000. $5,000 to speak.
Wow.
What? And she's like, yeah, so we're going to do this again. I'm going to ask you how much your fee is, and then you're going to respond by saying $5,000. Okay? It was so sweet of her to do that. She could have easily fleeced me and sounds good. I would have walked away thrilled. $1,500.
Exactly.
Let's go. Man, we're going to Sizzler tonight. But instead, it was she coached me and helped me in a way that I am grateful for. So after that, I started thinking maybe I should consider doing this full time. Maybe I should really think about making some decisions, because when people are reaching out to me to speak, and I often get questions hey, should I want to speak? What should I do? I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot say this enough. If you are interested in speaking, please do so. What I did before that first offer came is I did a lot of speaking for free. I spoke a ton for free. I spoke anywhere where people, and I was really bad at it initially. It wasn't very good, just like most people when they're trying things, right? So you go and you practice and you refine and you course correct and you improve and then you try again. So that was something that I needed to do to practice. And it got me to a place where when the moment did finally choose me, I felt more ready than I would have been if I didn't do all those free events. So yeah, the same thing applies for anyone who's listening to this. I mean, I am no one special, and I'll be the first to tell you I have no talent. And I'll go as far to say that when you think about like really successful luminaries in the world, like Martin Luther King Jr. or Mahatma Gandhi or Nelson Mandela or anyone, Mother Teresa, if they were alive, they'd be the first to tell you, like, dude, we ain't special.
Right.
We're just about this work. And we're trying to do this, and we are leaning in. So when the moment chose us, we went forward. You, Shola, you, Charlene, can do the same thing. It's like that's what I think of when I think of the luminaries in the past. They weren't superheroes. They were just like me and you. They just decided to heed the call when it came.
Absolutely. So, what has been your greatest, you feel, your greatest accomplishment?
Besides the things that are deeply meaningful to me, like being a dad to my two girls, I mean, and just that's to me is will always be number one. But if we're gonna keep it kind of to like the businessy stuff, it's hard to say. I think the way, because there's been some really good things, and sometimes is the biggest accomplishment, and this is where I'm wrestling with, like the thing that like put me on the map, or is it the thing where I had to really dig into a dark, challenging place to overcome it? There's a lot of ways to look at it. I find, to me, the biggest accomplishment is not the stuff that's so like glossy and shiny and sparkly. It's the dark underbelly stuff, like
Yes.
crawling out of the depression when I attempted suicide is a huge accomplishment.
Yes.
And that wasn't very sexy or fun or enjoyable, and there was no one there to root me on. I just did that in darkness. I think writing my book was also something that was an accomplishment. Writing a book is, I mean, I'm only going to speak for myself, is not a joyful experience. It's very hard. And that's why very few people write books, because it's a pain in the butt. You got to research and dig deep and find time and sit down when there's zero inspiration to be had and continue to just push forward. And all these things can be really hard to deal with. And so the fact that because I'll tell you why I feel like it's a great accomplishment, at least for me. I'm a guy who's I'm a great starter, awesome at starting stuff, not great at finishing them. So I would have a lot of great ideas, half finished projects. And to see me take something so hard from start to finish and then do it again with my second book, I think is something that I'm the most proud of. And I'm really, really grateful that was something that I can say that I did.
Yes, and we're grateful too, because now we get to experience it. And all of those that come after us, right?
Yeah, hey, right? Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So I have a question, because, I mean, I'm sure you know about all of the people that are leaving healthcare.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And all of the trauma that we faced over the last 2 years. So from your perspective, what would you give someone that's ready to actually give up? I mean, just even give up their profession, give up on life, because people will watch this also that are just discouraged because of everything that's going on in the world. But you seem to have found this attitude of kindness that keeps you moving forward. So would love to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, it's such an intensely personal decision to decide that you're going to move on. One of the things I would never want to do is be that person who is like, no matter what, you just got to hang in there and just make it work because the world needs you. And we need healthcare professionals who are engaged and are focused on doing their work. The world knows that. Anyone hearing my voice knows that. However, I also want to honor the personal choices that people have to make. So there could be something that's been calling you to be like, I feel like now that I've given my time working as hard as I can and giving as much as I gave to the healthcare industry profession, I'm now going to explore a different path because this is what's calling me. And to guilt yourself into, but my colleagues need me, my patients need me, may not make a whole lot of sense. Now, there could be someone else listening who is on the fence about what to do, but they have a lot of passion still for what they're doing within the healthcare profession. And they just need to be reconnected back to why they chose this work in the first place. That's an entirely different conversation. If nothing's pulling them away, but they've just become disconnected to what got them there in the first place, then I would really challenge them to find ways to reconnect to that person when they joined healthcare in the first place. What was it that made you excited? What made you want to become a clinician or staff member or administrator within healthcare? What was it that excited you about that? Tap back into that so that you can find that purpose. Is it the person who's the patient who feels unheard, or the person whose bill has been kicked around billing for God knows how many weeks, and you're going to go in there and finally resolve this issue for them and take away the additional suffering they're dealing with as they're dealing with their sick loved one. They're not dealing with this constant bill information or bill stress. Whatever it is, reconnect to that so you can continue to do great work. But those are two different things, right? There's the person who's like, I don't know if I want to do this. I love my patients, but I'm feeling disconnected. I'm going to challenge them to find what reconnects them to that work. If you're at a place where like, I've given everything I can to the healthcare industry, I'm proud of what I've done, and now there's a new mountain that's calling me to climb, and I would definitely challenge them to explore that, to look into that. My motto, Charlene, I'm a simple country kid. So, my way of looking at life is, if it's not hurting, if what you're doing is not hurting you and it's not hurting someone else and it brings you joy, do more of it. I think the world needs it. I think there's a lot of people who are at a place of like, I don't know if I should do this. And I don't know. And then they look back use me as a cautionary tale. I had a really dark moment where I attempted suicide, and I knew I wanted to write a blog. I waited 8-9 years before I did any. I had the idea for almost 10 years to write. This trajectory could have been fast forwarded a decade. But I waited. And I waited because I don't know what I waited for, like a group of doves to fly across my house in the sign of a cross to be like, it's now your time, Shola, go to work. Like, what am I waiting for? Like, that didn't happen. It's like, just move, just go. And that was something I wish I realized early on, because I wasted a ton of time, literally a decade.
What a powerful clip with Shola Richards showing us how he responded to the moment when it chose him. Who doesn't want to know how to be ready when the moment chooses them? Well, guess what? I am offering a free gift, especially for you. If you're interested in finding out the 4 keys of how to be ready when the moment chooses you, well, this gift is for you. Let me know if you're interested in these 4 keys, and I will put a link down here in my bio, and you can receive this document right to your email. So I will see you on the next episode. And I always ask you the question of, what will you do when the moment chooses you? Will you be ready? And that's what this document can at least let you start scratching the surface and start doing the work that it's going to take for you to be able to respond to every moment that comes in your life. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next episode.